Forced to work from home by your employer? Laid off or feeling depressed at home? Do you want to make money working from anywhere? We'll show you how to do it from your couch. It's time for another episode of the Work From Home Show. Coming to you from their homes in Austin, Texas and Tampa, Florida, here are your hosts, Adam and Naresh.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Work From Home Show. Shout out to all our homies, homeboys, homegirls, home trans. Today we have a special episode. We're going to take a break from our usual home stuff. We're going to take a break from the business. We're going to take a break from the writing and whatever other projects you do to make money from home. And we're going to talk about a new documentary that is out called Will You Go to Hell for Me? And it is by Everett Ellison. You've probably seen him on TV. He's been on Fox and CNN and a few other national outlets out there. He was formerly the Republican Party nominee for the South Carolina 6th Congressional District. And he's also the #1 best-selling author of multiple books, including The Iron Triangle, Inside the Liberal Democrat Plan to Use Race to Divide Christians and America in Their Quest for Power and How We Can Defeat Them. I'm actually interested in the second part of that subtitle, which is How We Can Defeat Them, because that's a tall order to do. And he's also author of the book 25 Lies Exposing Democrats' Most Dangerous, Seductive, Damnable, Destructive Lies and How to Refute Them. He has appeared, like I mentioned earlier, on Fox, on Newsmax, Sean Hannity's radio show, a bunch of others out there. So Everett Ellison, thank you so much for joining us on the Work From Home Show.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be with you.
I want to start the discussion by talking about your background. So my first question for you is, outside of the books that I laid out in your intro, and of course you just came out with this new documentary, Will You Go to Hell for Me? What about your background that I didn't list makes you qualified to be an authority on these topics?
I was born on a cotton plantation in Haywood County, Tennessee, under the real Jim Crow South, when the Democrats were systematically keeping black people from voting, killing you if you tried to vote, segregation, extra constitutionalism, no 14th Amendment protection, equal protection under the law. They were occupational terrorist government, same as they are now. And my father aspired. He wanted to bring us out of poverty. And he had a job working for a black man that owned his own insurance company. And from there, he learned the insurance industry, and he pulled us out of poverty. And we started a gospel singing group called the Ellison Family. And we went to black churches all throughout the South and all throughout America. That's where I learned about the black church. And living in the South in that area during that era, the Democrat Party chased me my entire life, trying to kill me and my brothers and sisters. So I know them very, very well. After I went to college, I started.
Hold on. How did they try to kill him? I'm curious to know, how did they try to kill you? Because when you make a statement like that, people are going to be like, "Whoa, like, did they really try to kill you?"
Yeah, being black in the South, I went to a public educational system that made sure I didn't get a good education. They had me prepared to work in the cotton fields and had me working. They wanted me to work in cotton fields and in the produce fields of Haywood County. If I got out of line at all, my father warned me that they would kill me. That I had to toe a certain line, I had to act a certain way. They ran the police force, and I saw them lock up and kill a lot of black men. They got a lot of my friends. They got a lot of my siblings. Well, not my siblings, but a lot of my cousins. And they actually spent life in prison and murdered, and you name it, it happened.
And this was a Democrat-run town or district that you're talking about?
Yeah. Haywood County is still run these Democrats. There was a book written by Taylor Branch called Parting the Waters, American and King Years. It won a Pulitzer Prize. It talked about a time in 1960 in Haywood County when my grandfather decided he was going to vote, and that the Ku Klux Klan ran them off of the plantations that they lived on. They had to live in tent cities, and how they castrated and hung. The first black person to get hung out in the field, get killed in the field, working for the NAACP, was in Brownsville, Tennessee. I talk about him in my book, 25 Lives. So yes, they were very, very brutal and very, very mean, and I had to act a certain way. So I started working for the prison system after but my father protected me. My father was a serious man, and I understood then that if you had a gun and you had Jesus Christ, wasn't nobody gonna bother you. So that's where I learned the strength of not fearing them from my father. So I started working in the prison system in the 1990s, and I thought we had overcome. And this was during the Clinton-Biden crime bill, and they were locking up these black men all over the country. And I asked the black intelligentsia, why are these young men being locked up so? And they said, well, evil, rich, white Republicans hate black people. And so I said, oh, really? So I resigned my post, started a nonprofit to go try to help keep these young black men out of prison. And I found out something pretty interesting. When I went down into the ghettos, I saw no evil, rich, white Republicans. All I saw was black Democrats. And the one, you see a unicorn before you saw a rich, white Republican down in those ghettos. And I saw these three entities making a lot of money off of the chaos. And I call them the Iron Triangle. I talk about them in my documentary. The black preacher, the black politician, the black civic organizer. And his job was basically to be a conduit between the black community and the white liberals. And they wanted to keep the black community ignorant, under control, and poor, so they had to depend on the Democrat Party. And that's what they've been doing. So my documentary covers all of that. I go into the fact that you cannot be a Christian. You cannot be a Christian and vote for the Democratic Party in this capacity. Now, matter of fact, you never could be a Christian and vote for them. They've always been a party of murder. I mean, they're the party of slavery. They were the party of the Confederacy and secession. They're the party of Jim Crow. And now they're the party.
So you brought up the
KKK. Of castration and everything. Yeah.
You brought up the KKK. They're the party of the KKK. Woodrow Wilson, who was president of the United States, a Democrat, actively promoted the KKK and did everything he can to segregate the workforce, the federal workforce, and held African Americans back. You didn't see much progress, or as they call progressivism, under Democratic rule, and that's why Woodrow Wilson has rightfully, I don't want to say rightfully canceled, but the truth has come out about him and the KKK as well. But I'll let you finish.
Yes, well, they've always been that party. The only time black people have always done well is when they've gotten away from them. Between 1940 and 1960, the black community, and I talk about this in the documentary again, and your listeners can go to willyougotohellforme.com. Willyougotohellforme.com. They can review the trailer, which is the best trailer you've ever seen. Once you watch this trailer, you have to get the documentary. And this trailer will knock you off your feet. It's willyougotohellforme.com. You can buy the DVD. You can rent the and stream the video, or you can rent the video by stream. But I go into how the Democratic Party is very good at deflecting their sins on the rest of America. The Democratic Party were Nazis before the Nazis were Nazis, and they were Nazis still. It's never been a time in the history of this country where they haven't had to find a way to legally commit murder on the American people. And right now we have to understand this, that to vote for a party that will castrate little boys, call them little girls, give double vasectomies to little girls and call them little boys, to allow demented grown men to go to the bathroom with children, with little girls. They don't even know what a woman is anymore. We ask them the definition, what is a woman? We have all these laws on the books to protect women and do this for women, and they can't even tell you what a woman is because they're so demented now. They want to disarm people in war zones. They allow the sex trafficking across the borders and won't stop illegal immigration. This party is a party of perverts, liars, anti-Christian bigots, and they are basically now insane. And we have to call them that and stop playing around with them.
Yeah, well, going back to the KKK, the Democrats pushed to establish one party rule, and like you said, Jim Crow. That's what the Democrats did in the late 1800s, post Civil War. Of course, by the time Woodrow Wilson became president around World War One. But you also brought up two areas that I think are really, really important, which the left doesn't talk about, and they don't put funding into these areas. But I think they would absolutely help the African American community, the Black community, and just the lower class of the United States. And that is, you said your father. It seems like your father played a very influential part in your life. He got you a gun. He taught you a lot of things. He introduced you to the church. And you also said that your father started an insurance business. Those two things, having an active and present father in the house and economic empowerment, the idea of, hey, I don't have to be dependent on the education system or some corporate job, or even worse. I mean, that's actually good if you are dependent on the education system and the corporate job compared to being dependent on some government handout. And so it appears that your father instilled a sense of economic empowerment, of financial freedom in you, and just being around played a huge difference. This is not the case in the lower class, really amongst the modern day liberal ideology. They don't talk anything. In fact, they want to break families apart. And I'll let you talk a little bit about Black Lives Matter and how one of the four founding tenets is all about getting rid of the nuclear family and essentially getting rid of the patriarch, the male figure. It's very pro LGBTQ. They want incentives to go to parents who don't have a father in the household. And then when it comes to business, of course, we go back to Lyndon Johnson's Great Society and all the welfare reforms that have been passed down since then. And people might think, oh, this is great because we're helping the community. We're giving them free money, free healthcare, free housing, free this, free that. But that's on the surface. But really, I think that's a terrible way to treat a group of people. I think it hurts them over the long haul. It hurts their children. I don't raise my own kids that way. I mean, they're super young, but as they get older, it's, hey, you gotta earn your grades. You gotta write your own essays. You gotta make your own money. And I mean, it's not that we can't afford it. We certainly can't afford most of what they want, but it's this idea of taking ownership of your life. And I feel like that's gotten lost in the Democrat Party.
Oh, the Democrats know this. They don't teach their own children to do it. What they do, they see the Black community as a continuation of a plantation system. It's the same thing. It's a variation on the thing, man. Keep your slaves uneducated, keep them afraid, keep them demoralized, and you can keep them under control. This isn't rocket science. They know exactly what they're doing. All of this is intentional. All of this is a plan. This is not the Democrats saying, ooh, we want to make these people better. This is Democrats saying that we can never let these people get better. It was in this book, The Walls Came Tumbling Down by Ralph Abernathy. He talked about in the 70s when he saw that the welfare state was destroying the Black community. And he went to some of the Democrats and the Black Democrats that he had gotten elected. He wrote in this book, he said, I found something interesting that they wanted, that it pleased them to keep these people on welfare, to keep 3 and 4 generations because they kept them under control. And they weren't going to try to get them off. This was back in the 1970s, and this is when Ralph Abernathy decided he was going to support Ronald Reagan for president. They know what they've been doing. They win. They don't lose. They get 90% of the vote. They're not going to give it up. And I go into my documentary, again, will you go to helpme.com? Will you go to helpme.com and watch the trailer, get the DVD, or stream it? But in my documentary, I talk about this and how this started. This was not by mistake. I go into the civil rights movement and how the Marxists in the civil rights movement and the feminists and all of these hippies and all of these weirdos when they got inside the civil rights movement, they started using the black community to press their agenda forward. Now, Patrick Moynihan did a great report in 1965. It's called the Moynihan Report. I talk about it in my documentary. I write about it extensively in Iron Triangle. And after going through a lot of things and looking at a lot of stats, Moynihan said that we have to put the black man back in charge of his family. He saw the black community was being destroyed and that the welfare state was doing it. It was LBJ that said, okay, take this to the civil rights community because they have to sign off on it. And if you can get them to do it, we'll do it. Now, this is a true story. He took it to Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement. McGeorge Bundy, who was of the Ford Foundation, was with Patrick Moynihan when he took it to them. And McGeorge Bundy said it was a miracle that Moynihan got out of that room alive. They cussed him out, they berated him, they treated him like a dog, and they went back to Lyndon Johnson and said, we don't want to put the husband back in charge of his family. This is true now. They said they believed that marriage was like a prison. It was like slavery. That they wanted in the welfare statutes for it to be said that the woman can only get money if the man is not in the house. So they put in welfare the man in house statute that said that if a man in the house, the family could get no welfare, but if he was out of the house, they could get more money for each child the woman had. In one generation, the black community went from 80% of the children being born in wedlock to 80% being out of the wedlock, and it was a civil rights movement. It wasn't LBJ. LBJ wanted to do the right thing. They forced his hand. And even after all of that money, Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights community wanted to do the Poor People's March right before King got assassinated. They wanted more. They wanted a guaranteed wage, guaranteed housing, guaranteed health care. They wanted everything guaranteed from the government. These were Marxists. They were communists. And my documentary talks about it and proves it. So LBJ takes a hit for a whole lot of stuff that he was forced to do by the civil rights community, by the black preachers, the black civil rights organizations, and the black politicians, by these feminists, by these weirdos, communists, and Marxists that took over the civil rights movement. That's why my documentary is selling like gangbusters. That's why everybody's afraid of it, and that's why nobody can refute it. You can go through my documentary with your phone, do Google searches all the way through it, and all of it is factual.
Absolutely. I haven't watched the documentary, but I've gone through some of your books, and we're not even sharing opinions here. We're just kind of regurgitating facts that are happening. And I want to debate.
Yeah, these are facts.
These are facts because your book, 25 Lies, there's so many lies that are being spread about the lower classes of America, about Republicans, about even the good that Democrats do or that Black Lives Matter does. I think Black Lives Matter has held I think Black Lives Matter is going to end up holding black people back by decades. I think the ideas, like you said, are Marxist. I think the ideas are more dependent on government. If you're dependent on the government to live your life, if you're dependent on the government to educate your kids, to make money, to provide housing, then you've got some serious issues. The goal is to become independent to become your own person. That's the goal here. And
well, yeah, the one thing that they've done more than anything, they've separated us from our religious underpinnings. Those are the things that kept us from killing one another, from destroying our families. We've always been poor, but we haven't always been we haven't always been dysfunctional and immoral. No matter how much money you have, if you're killing yourself, and if you are drugged out, and if you are fighting and berating one another, you are completely no good. And this is what the Democratic Party has done. They have elevated the worst people in our community: Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Cardi B. They've elevated them and invited them to the White House. And so when they call young people the N-word and call them the B-word and the W-word, and you see them with Barack Obama and Joe Biden, how could a child not think that this is true? You know, these people are now our heroes. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I remember hearing Chris Rock said, "When did Snoop Dogg become Morgan Freeman? I see him on more commercials now than anybody." Why would they elevate such a terrible individual to the black community? Because they want us to be like Snoop Dogg. They want us to be demoralized. They want us to be immoral. That's who they are. And
as long as they keep us exactly where we are, they'll have us destroyed. And Martin Luther King Jr., again, when he had his I Have a Dream speech, and I started having my epiphany when I listened to this speech at the Rain Motel, and I heard King say something. I'd heard this speech 1,000 times. I was wondering why these young men were kneeling and so angry. And when I heard Martin Luther King Jr. say in that speech, in his I Have a Dream speech, 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, the Negro is still not free. That's when I said, that's the poison pill. I was born free. That was a lie. My freedom comes from God. It is irrevocable, non-transferable, and unsellable, according to John Locke. But Dr. King says we have to come to Washington and ask white America for our freedom. He said he dreamed for a day that one day I wouldn't be judged by the color of my skin or by the content of my character. Two things here. Number one, you're going to be judged by your character. It's inescapable and it's unavoidable. And also, number two, what's wrong with the color of my skin? According to my Bible and my religion, I'm not supposed to be concerned about how another man views me. I'm supposed to be concerned about how God views me. I'm not supposed to walk around asking a man like me, asking a racist, sir, don't judge me by the color of my skin, please. No, that's defeatist. That's weakness. He took our manhood away, telling us to do such a thing. I'm supposed to look at you and say, hey, man, hey, I don't like you because you're black. Well, that's your problem. You put your hands on me, you're going to have another one.
It's all about mindset. It's all about mindset.
It's all about that.
Too many people, not just black. I'm a brown Indian American, and there's too many people who are part of our ethnicity who walk around acting like a victim, saying everybody's racist against them, and white people are racist in America, and they got fired from their job because of racism, and they didn't get A's on their report card because of racism, and every problem in life is because of racism. And I'm here to tell you this is an idea that the radical left, that I think the Russians in the 80s implemented in our school system to take away from what's most important. It's the science, the math, the technology, the working hard, the taking care of your family. That's gone out of the window, and they infiltrated our school systems to instead focus on victim mindset, on race, and the Chinese are laughing. There's actually a Chinese term for wokeness, because they laugh. They see, hey, look at us creating all these robots and artificial intelligence and hacking into U.S. government systems and hacking into all sorts of other social media, TikTok taking over. Look at us doing all this, taking over. And these Americans are out on the streets marching because a cisgender or who knows what gender person is upset that they can't use, and I'm saying they can't use a certain bathroom. That's become the focus in this country rather than the important stuff. In China and Russia, they're winning the game, and the Democrats are in bed with them.
Well, and then this is because we have taken our eye off of our basic religious concepts. John Adams said about our Constitution in this country, he said this Constitution is designed for a religious and immoral people, wholly inadequate for any other. See, my Bible tells me how to deal with everything. If I have a transgender person around me, these people are suffering. They have a mental illness. And the
it's gender dysphoria. It's in the psychiatric manuals. The DSM, every DSM manual. We'll see the latest. We'll see the latest DSM and what they say about it because of this political movement that's taken on. But DSM 1, 2, 3, 4, gender dysphoria is a disorder.
Yes. And they are exploiting these people, and they're teaching and they're encouraging it in our children. See, that's the problem. We know that we have people in our society that have difficulties, that have mental illnesses. And we are supposed to be compassionate for them. We're supposed to take care of them. We're supposed to pray for them. But we're not supposed to tell our children, you act like that person that's schizophrenic right there. The one that's having convulsions and walking around talking to itself. Yeah, you act like that. No, we don't tell them that. But we want to tell them to look at the gender. And because the child might be going through a difficult time in their lives, they're teaching parents now that if you try to correct your child, that you are a bad parent. Man, that's insanity. Parents have always corrected their children during that time in their lives when they may have a little gender confusion. My father had no problem correcting me and my brothers. That's for sure. and you rear your children and say, no, these are your gender roles. This is your gender ideology. This is how, and that's why when you grow up, the boys hang out with their father, the girls hang out with their mother, and they have these mirror neurons that connect. Once they destroyed the family and they started putting women in charge of these families and they started feminizing men, this whole concept of men rearing their boys to be men went out the window. Now they have a bunch of effeminate men, and it's a shame. And I hope that every man hears me very, very well. Every man that allows the public education system to sexually groom their children, they have drag queens come in and shake their behinds in their sons' faces, that will vote for a politician that will spank, that will put you in jail for spanking your son, but will give you the money to castrate him, you are an affront to God. And you need to have your behind kicked and you need to be put in jail. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Well, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because if I had this conversation with a non-black person, I would be called a racist. And I'm sure you brought up a really good statement, and this is something that I say too, because when I share, I've gone on CNN, I've gone on Newsmax, I've talked about not even my political beliefs, I've just shared facts, and people from my own community have ostracized me. They've come after me. People on social media, Twitter, especially Twitter, they've come after me, call me all sorts of names. I've been called white supremacist. I've been called a racist. I've been called every name in the book. And my friends say, hey, how do you put up with it? I've had media articles written about me. I'm sure you've gone through all the same stuff times 20. And people say, hey, how do you put up with all this? Like, don't you feel bad because people are saying bad things about you and they're writing bad things about you? And I say, I'm not doing this for the other people. I'm only doing this for one man and one man only, and that's a man up above. So
there you go.
And so if people can build that spiritual strength, and look, you and I, we pray to the same God, but we follow different religions. But at the end of the day, most of the principles are the same. And if you have a value system to live by, live by, then people can throw anything at you. And not only is it not going to affect you, but you'll stay strong. And in your case, in my case, I think live a good life, live a happy life, raise successful kids. Because the victim mindset is constantly to be a victim. The goal is to be a victim, always. It's almost like succeeding and having success is a bad thing. Instead, let's blame all our problems on white supremacists in, Hickoryville, Florida, who have no power, who are so small in number and who have no power anywhere. They don't make hiring decisions. They're not on Wall Street or Silicon Valley. They don't control our economy. They don't control
they're ignoramuses. A racist is an ignoramus. I can't let that ignorant sucker have any control over me. I am an heir of Jesus Christ. I'm a son of God. I've never met anybody superior to me. I cannot be a victim. I cannot be oppressed. You don't have the problem. You don't have the ability to oppress me. Any white man out there that think that he can oppress me, tell him to come to me and we'll put that to the test. He ain't got the ability to do it. I'm my own man. So when you're a Christian and you walk around talking about you're oppressed and you're a victim, you are a liar. You're not a Christian and you're not a man. This is why so many of these young black men can't get married now. Don't nobody want to hear no woman want a man walking around talking about he oppressed by another man. He's been victimized by another man. Can't nobody oppress me. I wish you try. I'd beat the living hell out you if you put your hands on me or try to hurt me or mine. And let me tell you something again. Christianity is not a religion of nonviolence, as Martin Luther King said. It is a religion of non-aggression. That means if I'm walking down the street and I'm seeing a young girl, a 3-year-old girl getting accosted or raped, and I'm supposed to, but since I'm a Christian man, I can't do nothing. No, I'm going to grab the guy. I'm going to whoop him until he starts fighting, call the police, turn him in. I'm not going to summarily execute him, but I will hold him for the police. That's no virtue in me letting people come in my house and rape my wife and daughters at night because I am a Christian man and therefore nonviolent. No, it's non-aggression. That means you don't touch me, I don't touch you. My job is to love you. But if you take my love for weakness, you're gonna be surprised because I got 2 things to get you off me: Jesus and my 38, you better not try me, because I will not be playing with you.
And I also want to define race, because the term racism has evolved. When I was growing up, racism was pretty clearly defined. Racism was the idea that people of a certain race, you just automatically shun them. So, for example, Vince, you're a black man. If I was racist against black people and your PR person reached out to me and pitched you to be on my show, if I was a true racist, I would say, hey, this guy's black. He's getting nowhere near my show, and I don't want to talk to this person ever because he's black. It's the same thing if you're Indian or Chinese or whatever. It's, okay, this person, I'm racist against this group. This person is part of that group. Therefore, I want nothing to do with them. Or even I want to hurt them type of thing. But today, racism has evolved to, if you say one wrong word, and when I say one wrong word, you're seeing the cancel culture of words that have been in English language for generations, and now all of a sudden we're not allowed to say certain words. Like in real estate, for example, I work in real estate, and the master bedroom, we're not allowed to say that anymore because apparently that word is racist. But the thing is, it's about context. It's like when I say, hey, my house has a master bathroom, I'm not saying that because I hate black people. I'm saying that because that's what it's been called for so long. And, like, it has nothing to do with race. When I call the White House, I'm not saying that because I like the term white. I went on Newsmax TV, and this woman, African American, said that it shouldn't be called the White House. And it should either be called the Black House or a neutral color house. And I'm just like, look, this is taking racism to extremes. This is how you divide. People are going to be so afraid to say anything because on the other side, the left is going to get so offended by anything that comes out of your mouth to the point that we can't even name colors anymore. We can't talk about bathrooms and bedrooms anymore. That's how you cause division. That's how you create a Marxist society.
Yeah, these people that are stupid are basically irrelevant. Whenever I start dealing with whatever they call racism, I am immune to it. It's like, it's just like measles. If they're around you, but they can't harm you because you've been inoculated. It's like the reason why the reason why we build houses is that we can't control the weather, right? So we build houses and we put a nice HVAC system in it so we can control our climate and be comfortable. That's what I've done with my life, because I can't stop a person from being stupid or from being a racist. What I can do, though, I can make sure that I am armed and that I'm inoculated against it, so that when they come to me with their stupidity, I can defend myself against it without much effort, which is what I do. I am a black man in America, born on a cotton plantation. I have done extraordinarily well. My wife is a lawyer. I live in a house that costs over $1 million on a 12-acre plot, watching a lake over a golf course, watching mountains. My children go to private school. My life is great.
Vince, you're not allowed to say this. You are talking about this scenario. You're not allowed to say this because white supremacy is the rule of the land. You're not allowed to live in a house like this.
Because I will tell them I am inoculated against white supremacy, and my life shows it. My life proves it. No racist has any power over me. Why? 2 reasons. I'm a free man. I am an heir of Jesus Christ. I'm inoculated against everything that you try to do against me. When these people call me and say they want to do this or harm me, I say, you can't touch me. I'm protected. See ya.
Second Amendment.
And I live my life in I'm absolutely fearless. 65 times in my Bible, it says, fear not. Fear not. See, this is why they need to get us from our religion. This is why they need us to be atheists or agnostic, or they don't want us to pray. We have given up so much ground and conceded so much ground to these people. They told us they didn't want us to pray in schools nor Bibles. We conceded it. They told us they didn't want our Bibles or our crosses in our workplaces. We conceded it. They told us they didn't want our Bibles, our crosses, or our religions at the courthouses or in the public square. We conceded it. So what did they do? They took a Christian symbol of ours, the rainbow, and they incorporated it into their sick ideology. And now every piece of ground that we conceded, they put this sick rainbow flag of theirs in place. Rainbow flag all over the schools now. Rainbow flag at the courthouses now. Rainbow flag in the public square now. But you can't have the cross or the Bible or any religious symbol, not even the crescent moon and the star. You cannot have any Star of David, nothing. But you can have all of this secular, nasty, sexualized stuff all around America. Because as I told you, the Democratic Party is controlled by all the perverts, murderers, anti-Christian bigots. This is who they are. And until we wake up, all people of the book, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Jew, Christian, until we wake up and understand that we are dealing with an evil institution, the evilest institution in the history of the world. Nazis and communists have nothing compared to the Democratic Party. The Communist Party started in 1917, well, basically took over Russia in 1917. The Democratic Party has been around since 1800. The communists are fading. Democratic Party is still going, using the United States, using the government of the United States of America, the most powerful government in the world, to spread their foolishness all over the world. We're into it with Russia and China and all of Africa because of this LGBTQ movement that these countries are saying we don't want any part of. Don't bring this stuff over here. Putin and Zelensky got into it because of this very issue. And they have commandeered this government to spread this lie and this blasphemy from here to Europe, and now they're trying to spread it throughout the world, and the rest of the world says, no, we don't want it. And the United States of America, our government with Biden and these weirdos that he has in his government, that Sam Brinkman guy with the lipstick and the bald head and the mustache and the high heels that's stealing women's clothes, that Levine idiot that's walking around with women's clothes on at Health and Human Services, Buddha judge, married to a man, puts on a fake breast and feeding his adopted child with it. These people are crazy, man. This is an insane asylum. It's like what happened in Hitler in Germany when those bunch of morons and insane people took over the Deccan government of Germany. Hitler them drove Germany off the cliff. Mussolini did the same thing in Italy. Gaddafi did the same thing in Libya. Saddam Hussein the same thing inside Iraq. When you allow insane people to run your government, they will destroy the country. And the Democratic Party is certifiably, absolutely, positively insane. We don't have to worry about them too long, brother. They're killing each other. Go to the inner cities. You know what's happening to them. They're dying. The conservatives are dying.
This is what I've been saying all along. I've been saying all along that Democratic policies just get more Democrats killed. And they think by letting in all these illegals, I'm telling you what's going to happen. They think, we're going to let in these 10. By the time it's all said and done, at the end of 2024, we're going to have more than 10 million illegals who move to the United States. I think they're going to be very surprised about how these illegals end up voting when they get the chance to vote, whenever they get citizenship. I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised. Like,
I think so too.
Like,
they're going to want the American dream. They're going to want homes. They're going to want to have cars. They're going to want to send their children to good schools. They are not going to be, as the black community is, a group of people that came from slavery, who did not fight for their freedom, whose freedom was given to them, who still had the mindset that power comes from the master. And this is one of the things that I talk about this in depth in my documentary also. The fact that the slave mentality still exists within the black community. It was never gotten out. Matter of fact, the black community, most of them did not fight for their freedom. Only 5%. After the Emancipation Proclamation, only less than 5% of black people actually escaped from slavery and went across the Union lines and fought for their freedom. And even after slavery was over, when they passed the Homestead Act in 1866, giving any able-bodied man 150 acres of land if he just go and just work it for 5 years. Only 5,000 black slaves out of 4 million took advantage of it. I mean, you could use that 150 acres of land as collateral for a mule and to get everything you needed to start your farm. but they did not take it. They stayed on the plantation down south. The 5,000 that took advantage of this was called the Exodusters. They are written down in history, but it was only 5,000 of 4 million slaves that they talk about 40 acres and a mule. They turned down 150 acres and a mule. They even had a Southern Homestead Act that they didn't take advantage of. Why? Because they wanted to stay with their masters. Listen, when you look at the civil rights movement, you have to understand one basic thing about it. Black people were not trying to get away from white people. They were trying to integrate with their masters. You understand? They wanted to sit on the toilet beside them. They wanted to drink out the water fountain beside them. They wanted to eat a hamburger beside them. And they wanted to march, get bit by dogs, shot by water hoses to get it done. So you know that when they got the chance to vote, they were going to vote for them. And who did the black people vote for after they got the right to vote down south? The Democrat Party. That's who they joined. It's Stockholm Syndrome, man. It's cognitive dissonance. And what white Americans understand is that you're not doing black people any good when you vote for the party that oppresses them. You're not doing them any good. So all of these white liberals or these white moderates that believe that by voting for the Democratic Party, they're assuaging themselves of racism, you're being made a fool of. You're being made a fool of. You're doubling down on the racism. Because if you look at what these people are doing to the black community, you are complicit in murder. You're complicit in genocide. You're giving the Nazis the ability to go down and kill the Jews again. You're giving the Democratic Party the ability to go down and put black people back on the plantation and make them slaves all over again. They lock their children in failing schools up in Baltimore, Detroit. They pay over $20,000 a year knowing these children are not being educated. But they pay it anyway because that money goes to the teachers' unions who gives it right back to the Democratic Party. It's a money laundering scheme.
And I
They
don't
allow
know.
the drugs in on the street. They take their guns away so they can't defend themselves. And then you want to call it gun control? That we're keeping you safe. How are you keeping somebody safe when you pull the police out and you take their guns away and you allow drug runners and criminals to run the whole neighborhood? It's ridiculous.
And look, folks who are listening, all you have to do is just look at the numbers. Just Google deadliest cities in America. Google deadliest cities in America and look at the cities that come up and look at the political party who runs the district. Look at the political party who runs the city, the mayor. It's only one political party that's running Chicago, that's running Baltimore, that's running Detroit, that's running New Orleans. You look at the highest homicide rates in the country, there's only one political party.
And they are proud of it. That's a sad thing. They're not saying, oh, this is terrible, y'all. We have to change it. We have to get school choice in here. We have to bring in more police. We have to keep the illegals out. We have to bring in the feds to make sure that we keep the drugs out. No. If you try to come in and change that, you got a problem. Why? Because they win.
Yeah.
And this is all it's about.
They keep winning elections. They keep winning elections.
As long as they keep winning elections, they're not going to change a thing. If you're getting 90% of the market share, are you going to change anything you're doing in your store? No. They win. They don't want it changed. If white people leave, they call it white flight. If white folks come in, they call it gentrification. They don't want you there because they know that if you come in, you're going to shake up their wagon. It is a slave plantation. It's a modern day cotton field. Joe Biden and the Democrats are over it, and they're going to keep it like that. And any Christian that votes for this system is putting his soul in danger of going to hell. We need to repent as a nation. We need to repent as a people. We need to say that we're going to follow the laws of Jesus Christ. See, we want to say that we're Christians. We don't want to live a life as a Christian. And Jesus Christ said that, a double-minded man, our Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. So we have these conservative ideologies, but we vote for these liberal politicians. So you'll get a black preacher up there, he'll talk against drugs, fighting, dope, prostitution, transgenderism. He talks against all of it. But he won't, and then tell you to go vote for the very same Democrat who's bringing it all to your community. These Democrats are masters at going down into these black communities and stealing elections. So to the polls. It's nothing but a bribery scheme where they bribe black preachers to put their congregations on buses the Sunday before the Tuesday election and have them all vote for the Democratic Party, and the black pastor gets paid. So to the polls, street money. You've heard about street money. Street money is when they take money down and pay people to vote for the Democratic candidate. you have street money, you have ballot harvesting, you have intimidation. You name it, it's down there. And they all know about it, and nobody stops it. The Republican Party isn't down there because they're afraid to go down there. They made deals with Democrats to stay out. They draw these majority black districts. The black people will want these majority black districts, and they vote for the Democrats. They have their majority white districts, and everybody's happy. The people that are out on this are the white Democrats. But the white liberals, they control all of it. It is a plantation system all over again, and every last one of your white friends or your little upper crust white Democrat friends that think that they are doing something good for America or that they're not racist because they vote for the Democratic Party, you tell them that I said that they are the biggest racists and they are the biggest sinners in this world, and they're going to pay for what they're doing to my people. They are no better. They are no better than the plantation owners of the South. They're no better than the people that turned away from Hitler when he was killing the Jews and was thinking they were called cosmopolitan because they were voting for the Nazi party. No, you're an apostate. You're a liar. You're an affront to God. And if you do not change, you're going to wake up in hell. You need to get my documentary. You need to look at it. You need to watch it. This is a warning. The Democratic Party has set a trap for you. They have set a trap. There's always been an evil institution. Always. To poor whites and to blacks. And they haven't changed a thing. And if you vote for them, you're complicit in murder. You're complicit in genocide. You're complicit in the destruction of a people that have been suffering in this country for 400 years. And you talking about somebody that's got their foot on the necks of black people, well, it's you white Democrats that keep them down and keep them so demoralized that they can't get up. If you want to change how you're voting and let these people live. Stop stopping them. Let them have school choice. They want it. Democrats won't let them have it. Let them have guns to defend themselves against these murderers and these drug dealers in their community and the police that they say are killing them. Let them defend themselves. No, Democrats don't want it. Keep the drugs out. Keep the illegal aliens out so they can have room, so they can have space. Stop sexualizing their children so that these young girls won't have babies until they get married. Stop aborting their children, putting their souls in jeopardy and destroying their brains and their minds. This is the Democrat Party. It's a death machine. And I'm glad that you give me the opportunity to talk about this and talk to the people that listen to your podcast, because many of them are so silly, so stupid. And they've been lied to about what their votes are bringing to America and to the black community and to themselves. Because if you look at the stats right now, everything that's wrong with the black community is being compounded in the black community. These young white girls are having babies now and not being married. There's poverty. There's dope. I mean, the fentanyl crisis and the opioid crisis, my God. Violence. The white community now is dying just like the black community was dying 20 years ago. And if America doesn't stand up and stop this, you and I are going to be sitting back in our gated communities watching these people go into Mad Max land. And it's a shame.
Well, talking about communism, Nazism, I want to bring, so communism was essentially the left-wing Democrat Party of Russia. And the term Nazi, if you actually analyze the term, which many people don't even know, it stands for National Socialist German Workers' Party. So that's something that the radical left completely leaves out. They don't want you to know that, hey, this is actually based on socialism, which is a far left ideology.
Well, look, man, it goes deeper than this. Dinesh D'Souza talks about this in his book, The Death of a Nation, and I also write about it in 25 Lives. When I found out that the Democratic Party was an evil party, not just misguided, but actually evil, I started. I saw this thing on the Nuremberg laws, and I said, "Well, those Nuremberg laws sound a whole lot like the old Jim Crow laws of the South." And as I started studying it, I found out, whoa, the Democratic Party actually came to the United States of America. I mean, I'm not a Democrat, but the Nazi Party actually came to the United States of America in the 1920s and met with Southern Democrats and asked them how did they make black people second-class citizens. Said because we want to do the same thing to the Jews. And the Democratic Party gave the blueprint for the Nuremberg laws. And I have 3 people in my book that write about this. This is what they do, though, because all of them are Ivy League scholars. They try to deflect it and say that this was American racism. No, it wasn't. No, the Jim Crow South and the Democrat Party was Democrat racism. The racism against black people didn't come from the Republican Party. The Republican Party was never a racist party. It was always the Democrat Party. And the Democrat Party, especially the Jim Crow Democrats, told the Nazis how to implement the Nuremberg laws. This is not hyperbole. This is absolute fact. And they went to Germany, they implemented them, and this is where you had the Holocaust. And it all came from the Democratic Party, and we shouldn't be alarmed. Heck, they were doing the same thing here in the South for 100 years before the Nazis started doing it. I mean, so, it's like people say, oh, that's amazing. No, it's not. Look at what the Democrats, were doing for 100 years. This guy from Yale, his name is James Q. Whitman. He wrote about it. This guy from USC, his name was Wolf Gunner. He wrote about it. And they talked about how the Democrats came and met with the Nazis. Well, and they sat down and concocted the Nuremberg laws, and there you have it. So these people have always been this way. All the Democrats down south voted against the Civil Rights Act and the Sporting Rights Act. All of them. They didn't want to change it. They were winning with it. They've always hated black people. And if you think that what's going on in the black community right now is love, tell you what, man, you need to stop loving me, all right? I prefer you hate me.
Well, you also brought up, and we're going to wrap up this interview soon, but you brought up how the young African Americans, who do they have to look up to? And you brought up Snoop Dogg and all these other athletes and entertainers. And look, forget about the politics. President Obama is somebody who you want to look up to. Just forget about the political side of it. That's somebody who young kids, men or women or transgender or whatever it might be, should look up and say, hey, here's a guy who became the first African-American president. He's super smart. He's got a great family, good kids. He's got Ivy League degrees. An amazing speaker, orator. Like, this is who I want to be. But when I used to live in Baltimore, and when I went back to visit in 2017, as I was driving around, I saw people wearing these T-shirts of Freddie Gray. Freddie Gray was the young man who was killed by the police in Baltimore. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not Freddie Gray. If you look at his history and who he was, yes, he did die by the police, but that's not something to aspire to become. That's not we had a president who should inspire you enough to be your best self. It's all backwards. And for some reason, it's like the Democrat Party doesn't even want to promote Obama anymore. It's like you said, Snoop Dogg and...
Yeah, but then when Obama was out there, he was the one that brought Snoop Dogg to the White House. He brought Rick Ross and all these other rappers to the White House. He had a hip hop.
So he wants to hold them down too. He wants to hold them down, and he was raised by a white woman. I mean, really?
Yeah.
He's black.
Look, he was given his walking papers. He was told what he's supposed to do if he wanted to maintain his power and get that house on Martha's Vineyard. Okay, if he wanted to get the big contributions for his library, his job was to make sure that black people stayed in line for the Democrat Party. So the last 2 years of his administration, he said if he had a drunk son, he looked like Trayvon Martin. He started this Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown thing. He's the one that told everybody that no matter how hard you work as a black person, you can't make it. He said it. He was the one that Eric Holder was the one that said, even as Attorney General, he said, of all things that are racist, America is a nation of cowards. These guys, the last 2 years Obama was in office, basically said America was still a racist nation. Obama said racism was in America's DNA. Sitting as president, he said it.
And
you had a generation of children hearing this from the president who was supposed to be telling them America is now in a post-racial society. You can have whatever you want to. Go out there and get it. Just because you hit a brick wall doesn't mean you hit it because you were black. It's something you have to fix in your personality or in your skill set, because nobody is obligated to hire you if you can't do the job. But if you can do the job, listen to me, young man. If you have a skill set that the population needs, you will never be hungry.
Yes, exactly.
They will not say that I need to have my a bricklayer brick my house. I ain't gonna hire him because he's black. That guy can fix my car, but I'm not gonna let him do it because he's black. That guy is a great doctor, but I don't want to work on my heart because he's black. That's not gonna happen. Now they might say, I don't want you to marry my daughter because you're black, but they're not gonna say, I'm not gonna help you participate in your skill because you're black. It's not gonna happen. It's called market. It's called the law of economics, supply and demand.
There you go.
If you can do it and I need it, I'll pay you for it. End of story. I don't even have to like you, but that joker can fix a transmission, man.
Yep.
Oh man, he a redneck, but he can fix a transmission.
Yeah.
You know, so and that's that's the lie that Obama put out. He would tell you that even if you were good at something, even if you worked hard, America was such a racist nation that you would not make it, and that is a
and people
stone
believe
cold
it. People in my
bald-faced
community,
lie.
people in my community believe it. And what I say is, okay, you didn't get that promotion, but how about this other guy who's from the same country, has the same skin color? They got the promotion. So is that racism, or is that you just not having the skills or not being a proper fit to get that promotion? You know?
It's people that want to be accepted by the white community and wanting to be loved by the white community. And then when you go back to a manliness about you, you're not just a Christian faith, which is my Christian faith that says you're not to be concerned about man, but also a manliness about you that says, I don't care how you feel about me, man. I don't care. I want God and my wife to like me, okay? I don't care if my children like me. They're going to respect me. So I'm not going to be walking around here trying to get man to like me. I'm going to have a skill set where if I do the job, you're going to pay me. Whether you like me or not is irrelevant. I don't care. I'm not gay. I don't care if a man likes me. Really. I don't care. If you like me, that's fine. If you don't like me, let me know, and I'm not going to stalk you. See, Martin Luther King Jr. turned black men and black Americans into a generation of stalkers. And I don't care how pretty a woman is. If she's a stalker, you're not going to like her, okay? So we started stalking white America, not taking care of our own communities, not getting a better restaurant and setting them up, not better schools, but stalking white folks. And white people got mad about it. They said, why don't you fix up your house, fix up your community, fix up your school? Why are you stalking me? I've told you I don't want you around me. Now, as I said in my documentary, if you don't want black people around, Everett Ellison is the one you ain't got to worry about. You ain't going to have me running around you, sniffing behind you, asking you to accept me. If you don't want to be around me, cool. I don't want to be around you either. I'm not going to go to a white. You got a white person that says, I don't want to hire black people. You think I'm going to ask him for a job? I don't want to work for you. You're a racist. It's stupid to me. And this is why the black community is at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America. This type of stinking thinking, where we believe that we're supposed to stalk people, aggravate people, beg people, grown men in the streets hollering for reparations, black males being the biggest cowards in the world. And that's the problem in the black community. It's not white conservatives. It's black male cowardice. Black men fighting, slapping, acting a fool in the street. And then when white people want to be around them, they say, well, it's because I'm black. No, it's because you're a thug. And I don't want you around me if you're acting that way. So you got to better yourself if you want to be in better society. If not, with those thugs and those maniacs. Because if you come in my community acting a fool, I don't care what your color is. If you're nice, if you're respectful, if you're trying to do something for yourself, you can be in my company. But you can be black, white, Asian, Jew. If you're a thug and if you're no good and if you're a rabble-rouser, I'm going to get you away from around me. They don't want to pay the cost. They don't want to. They want you to accept them as they are. And I ain't got to accept anybody. No one. And this is what we got to get people to understand. Well, I'm going to get the law passed and make you accept me. Like transgenders want to walk around with lipstick and beards and dresses and high heels. They want to walk up to me and tell me I got to give you a job. Man, you better get out of my office. Something's wrong with you. I'll take you down to the psychiatric hospital and get you some help. Or I'll take you to the altar and get you some prayer. But until you get that demon out of you, no, you can't work for me. It's that simple for me, man. I ain't gonna argue with no guy about whether or not he's a woman or a man. You know what? When I see people get involved in these arguments, I say, man, you know what? When an intelligent man argues with a fool, you can't tell the difference between one or the other. I am not going to argue with a man about whether or not he's a man or a woman about whether or not she's a woman or a man. I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not gonna argue with a man about going into the bathroom with my daughter, my wife. If he tried, I'm gonna crack his neck. End of story. My wife and my daughter's in there, you ain't going in there. Try it. See what I do to you. When they come out, do what you want. But while they're in there, you're not going in there. See, I'm not going to argue with these people, man. So every man out there just needs to get that type of attitude. I'm not going to be bought down into your foolishness. I'm not going to argue with you. I know who I am. I'm a child of God. I'm an heir of Jesus Christ. I am a free man. And nobody's going to take my freedom or my dignity from me. Not the Democratic Party, not anybody. So that's why I wrote this documentary. And I want y'all to go to willyougotohellforme.com. Willyougotohellforme.com. Buy the DVD, stream it, or rent the stream. It will change you forever. Be the best documentary you ever saw.
Wow. That was great. So the website is vinceellison.com.
It's Vince E. Ellison.
vinceellison.com, vinceellison.com, and also Amazon.
Yes, you can go to Amazon. You can buy my books on Amazon. I have another book coming out in October called Crime Inc., How the Democrat Party Used Mafia and Organized Crime Techniques to maintain power. So that's coming out in October. It's already out on Amazon for pre-sales. But as you see, I'm working, man. I'm going to do my job. So when I die and go to heaven, God will say, Vince, you did what I told you to do. See, I'm not trying to run anybody down, brother. I'm not chasing nobody. I'm putting the information out there. And what my Bible says, he who seeks shall find. So everybody that is out there seeking, if they're seeking, they're going to run up on me. All they got to do is Google search. They're going to find my facts. They're going to find my documentaries. They're going to find my books. They're going to find my blogs. They're going to find my op-eds. And they're going to find my interviews. And nobody has ever jumped me on fact. You know, when they cannot hit you, when they run out of political arguments or factual arguments, they start hitting you personally. And that's when you know that they have no argument. When they start calling you out your name, they have no argument then. It's done. You've defeated them. You know, they're just flailing about now. They're just grasping for straws. So they don't have any power. If you want to deal with me and talk about something factually, hey, I'm all ears. But if you want to start name calling and throwing things, and, you know, they're a bunch of cowards that are behind their keyboards, aren't they? You know, they won't tell you to your face, but, oh, boy, behind their keyboard, they got a whole lot of moxie. But, you know, they're a bunch of cowards. They have no power. And they'll never be able to stand eye to eye with a man like me because I'm a man and I'm backed up by Jesus Christ. They can't touch me.
And it's also irontrianglebook.com.
Yes, you can go to irontrianglebook.com. And Iron Triangle Book will just take you to vinceellison.com. But the documentary itself, go to willyougotohellforme.com. And you'll run right up on the trailer. You can read the reviews of the documentary. Everybody says it's either the best movie they ever saw, and they all say it's the best documentary that they ever saw. I'm telling you, you will not ever be the same once you see this. The trailer itself is going to leave you speechless. The documentary is going to change you.
Are you trying to get this on Netflix or iTunes or something?
Oh man, they after they got 100,000 views on YouTube, they censored it. You can't get it on YouTube anymore. So now you got to go to Rumble to see it. It's gotten over 2 million views on TikTok.
So it's free. So it's free. It's not like you have to.
No. I'm talking about the trailer now.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. I'm talking about the trailer. The trailer was censored on YouTube about 2 weeks ago. So we put the trailer on Rumble, and we put and the trailer's been viewed over 2 million times on TikTok. It was debuted on Tucker Carlson. I texted the trailer to Tucker. I asked him could I debut it on his show. He said absolutely,
and then I debuted it on my Tucker Carlson show when Tucker was Fox. I've spoken with Tucker since he left Fox. He's doing fine. He told me he's weirdly happy and everything's fine, and that he'll be making a move pretty soon, and he'll be back.
He can do whatever he wants. He should enjoy the time off.
Of course he can.
And he probably got a good exit package
the best in the business. Oh, no doubt. But Tucker was already independently wealthy. I think he's worth about $500 million anyway. So it was, and this is one of the things he had at Fox. Tucker would only do the show if he had absolute content control. And of course, I guess they started getting angry at his content because Tucker told nothing but the truth.
And I want to mention that President Obama, he gave not just multiple speeches racializing the country and talking about how the country is still racist, but very anti-police rhetoric as well in 2015 and most importantly in 2016. The type of rhetoric that led to incitement of violence and the actual killing of police officers. If you want to look up what happened in Dallas 2016, there were police officers who were killed by regular protesters, civilians. You compare that to, say, January 6th. Yes, January 6th was terrible, but not a single protester killed anybody. To let the government go after Trump and potentially indict him because of what he did, and to not hold President Obama to the same standards, when Obama, you can once again make the case that he incited those protests, those BLM protests, those riots that ended up killing in the double figures. The number of police officers who died in 2015 and 2016 alone as a result of the protests, that was in the double figures. It's important to be honest about that, and I also want to share one last thing about my own children. My sons, my children, they are African American. Yes, they are African American because their ancestors were taken as indentured servants from India to Africa, to Uganda, Africa. They were forced to take out huge loans to buy a cotton gin. They worked on cotton gin for a few generations and ultimately earned their freedom, which is quite impressive given how ridiculous the interest rates were that the British forced them to buy into the loans that they had to take out. I bring this up because, look, I'm not comparing slavery to indentured servitude. What I'm saying is, if we look at our histories, many of us listening, it was not the smoothest. It was very difficult. It was oppressed. And not once did I, or even my kids moving forward, are we going to act like victims saying my great-great-great-grandfather, and by the way, even in my family, we weren't indentured servants, but there was a lot of oppression, there was a lot of hardship that my own family on both sides of my parents faced. We all, or most of us, have ancestors who faced a lot of problems, a lot of issues. And to blame it on systemic racism, to blame it on white people, India became a Muslim territory because the Mughal dynasty took over the Hindu nation of India. Let's focus on the present. Let's focus on today. What happened to our great-great-great-great-grandfather? It's sad if we even know the history, but most people don't wake up every morning praying to the soul of their great-great-great-great-grandmother or grandfather because they have today to worry about, and that's the power of now.
I hope your people will go watch the documentary. I hope that they will take heed to the warning of the documentary, that they have the ability to change it, to turn it around, that hell is a choice. C.S. Lewis said hell is a choice, but the good thing about hell being a choice is that you can also unchoose it, and that America is going to be saved. We're going to lose some people in the process, but we'll be saved as a nation. I have no doubt about that. Just stand strong.
All right, Vince, thanks a lot. It was good talking to you.